evening, everyone. This is Jane Ruby with Dr. Jane's DC. I want to welcome everyone to the show tonight. Just getting a little bit set up here and doing some extra engineering tonight. Well, I have a great show for you. I have Virginia politics is the theme tonight, with two incredible people, brilliant people, and very famous people, activists, and one is a former office holder and big candidate for office. We have, first of all, starting out tonight at around 8:10, we'll have attorney Patti Lyman, who is running for Republican National Committee woman from Virginia. There's a man and a woman that hold those two seats, apparently for every state. And so we're going to try to get Patti elected in Virginia. She's a solid conservative. And the other big surprise tonight, which I'm really excited about, is we're going to have Corey Stewart on tonight. We had a little technical difficulty with him earlier, but I think he's in. Let me just let him know, because that's going to be a treat. And we'll tell him that we will bring him into the show at 8:35 after the break. So I'm really excited that worked out. We figured out the kinks. In any case, before we get to our discussion tonight with Patti Lyman, who's also an immigration attorney, and she's super smart. You guys will love her. She's brilliant. She's given talks all over Virginia and DC. She was at CPAC as well. Let me just say a few words about CPAC and the coronavirus. Yes, I do have a little bit of a head cold. It has nothing to do with the coronavirus. But I was, as many of you know, I was at CPAC for Thursday, Friday. I did not go on Saturday, interestingly, because I've met the president before. I've spoken with him a couple of times. And I don't get into those, long lines and the big crowd and everybody trying to leave right after. So I didn't go, and I watched it on TV, which was much more enjoyable, and I had some other responsibilities. So I didn't go to broadcast, but it doesn't matter. I was there Thursday and Friday. I do know the name of the person who was the ground zero person that infected, apparently, and exposed a lot of people at CPAC. Had a source call me late last night and tell me the person's name, but I don't feel it's my place to say the name. I have identified the person who was there with his son, and apparently they both tested positive. The main person who's hospitalized now with serious symptoms. We want to pray for him. Is a physician, actually, an OBGYN, and apparently he's a very big donor. And he spent a lot of time in the green room meeting all the big VIPs, and he, as you now know, met and spent some time in close proximity with members of Congress, the vice president. We don't know in detail about the president's exposure. But remember, I've always said it takes, I'm a medically trained person, it takes three things to get an infection. You have to have a virulent organism. We know we have that here. You have to have a vulnerable host, so low immunity, lots of issues, not feeling well, having other chronic illnesses. Those things make you vulnerable. And you have to have a portal of entry. So everybody's going crazy buying out shelves of Purell and rubbing alcohol and Zicam, and I'm a little bit guilty of it myself. But that's only managing the third element, which is a portal of entry. You don't want to touch your eyes and your hands, or really your mouth, even though that's a little less dangerous. So again, I have a cold. I don't want any rumors heading out. I know a lot of people that were at CPAC, and I think this whole thing the hype is getting out of control. And I think it's the hype that President Trump calls the hoax. Not that the virus is a hoax. Obviously, it's a real virus. People are getting sick. But there are just apparently tens and maybe hundreds of thousands of people that die all over the world every day of what we would consider the regular flu, right? So I just think we're overhyping. We're losing our markets. We're losing our perspective on things. The Dow, as you know, dropped 2,000 points today. That is not reflective of the state of our economy. So I think it's just important that we remember, keep some perspective here. And again, I'm guilty of it myself. We're here in D.C. I do think, I'm looking out the window at the Potomac. I do think that the numbers are probably worse than they're letting us know, because they don't want us to panic and freak out. So I would say avoid major crowds, travel if you need to, as long as the CDC doesn't recommend against it, especially domestically. I think we're still okay. I myself am planning to go to a very special event later this month in West Palm Beach, that the First Lady is hosting. It's a very exclusive dinner. I'm excited to go. It's at Mar-a-Lago. And I'm still planning on going. But am I going to travel out of the country? Absolutely not. And actually was going to go to Israel to repeat that trip I was on last year. And I just learned this evening that trip has been canceled. And so they'll do it next year. But I think in an effort to, exercise some prudence, they're canceling it. So that was tied in with the Jexit group. Michelle Lubin-Terrace and Karen Basel. Excuse me. I know that's going to make people nervous, but I'm not quarantining, but I did spend the day working and then resting a little bit after work. So what else can we talk about? Things are quite crazy out there. I could get involved in the conspiracy theories because, what was President Trump cheering? And by the way, I'm cheering you all up by wearing one of my Trump dresses. I thought that would make everybody happy. Just remember who we've got as president. We're very lucky. We know the economy's good. We know things are getting better and better. Who knows if China's involved, if George Soros is involved, because he's got some part ownership in this lab, and so does Bill Gates, and they're big population control people. This is one of the only 10 level 4 biosafety labs. That means they can make these viruses, and they can make vaccines for them, and they can study them, and this is the only one in China, the one in Wuhan. So I'm just really suspicious that it came out now, and now President Trump can't say, go check your 401 yet. But President Trump never loses. And you are going to see everything rebound very, very soon. Okay, I'm going to check our Periscope feeds to see if you guys are on. And I want to check and see if you have any questions. Let me turn down my own volume. There we go. Okay, we've got about 25 people on. I think that's really great. I'm excited. So if you have questions, I'm gonna keep an eye on this, and especially when we have Patti, Lyman, and we have Corey. That's going to be really fun. So let me bring Patti in. I believe she's going to call at 8:10. Oh, my friend Brianna is here in the chat room of Periscope. Thanks for watching. And before I go to Patti, because I believe she's going to call into the show, because she's speaking at a couple of different events tonight, so she's going to join us by phone, because that's the only way she could be on the show tonight. I wanted to share with you that there were a lot of friends at CPAC. Laura Loomer was here. She's still going all over the country and doing great. So we'll come back. We'll come back. Let's see what Patti is up to. We are going to bring her into the show. Just be patient with me. Okay, let's give her. Let's see what's going on. I know that she was speaking at a Republican event, and we'll bring her in right now.
in Hampton now, and I just spoke to a very fired up group of Republican activists, and what everybody is talking about is the wildfire that has been set in Virginia from the day that the Democrats started taking our Second Amendment rights away. And that, everyone has said it 1,000 times, it awakened a sleeping giant, but that's really too small a phrase to describe the earthquake that we're seeing in Virginia.
Yes, absolutely. And you know something, Patti? I think this is the year. This is the year that Virginia really comes out and everybody sees that it is truly red.
It is red. We haven't been voting red, but what our job is to get people to vote the way they believe. And we saw it when people came out by the thousands to their town meetings, their city council meetings, and all but 4 localities in Virginia passed Second Amendment sanctuaries. A lot of those people that came out, Jane, they haven't been voting. It's not necessarily that they've been voting blue. Some of them have, but a lot of them haven't been voting, but they're there. Same thing with the 50,000 people that showed up in Richmond to defend their Second Amendment rights. That kind of stuff does not happen in a blue state.
Yeah, and you probably know, Patti, I'm jumping slightly on topic, but it all ties back in. You probably know that we took a huge hit in the Dow today by 2,000 points. There were a lot of things in play, not just the coronavirus, but oil prices and all that. The Saudis apparently have jumped in. What are your thoughts around that, and what are you telling people around the state?
Well, I look at it, first of all, we have to look at the entire landscape of the economy. And what has happened in the last 3.5 years with our economy is undreamed of. It's unheard of. The fundamentals, as they say, the fundamentals of our economy are strong. And we have kind of a freakish situation happening in Saudi Arabia right now. And obviously that's their whole business is oil. And I don't mind saying that the United States, under President Trump, becoming energy independent has taken a lot of leverage away that Saudi Arabia used to have. And there's instability over there. There's an attempted coup going on. There's, it's a culture that is extremely foreign to us on many, many levels. But it's going to stabilize. It's going to stabilize. We eventually will, as Rush Limbaugh says, we will get to the free flow of oil at market prices. Right now, there's artificial things that are keeping the market from working, and frankly, that's going to mean that an awful lot of us are paying less for gas for a little while, and the airlines are going to be paying less for jet fuel for a while, and let's just ride it out.
Yeah. I have a Periscope Live chat room going, and the folks are watching the show and listening, and they're asking a lot about the spillover from the Obama administration and the Obama years. We know that we're clawing our way back, but are you seeing connections and how that all ties together?
You mean with this stock market drop today?
Yes, and I guess in terms of just where the economy was before President Trump took it over, were there vulnerabilities? Yeah.
I mean, the president came into obviously the economy started getting better the day that he was elected, so really that's kind of the day that we measure his effect on the economy, not necessarily January 20th, 2017. But it was a shambles. America presented herself as a weak sister, if you will, for the 8 years of the Obama administration. We were so diminished. Everyone has seen that picture of former President Obama bowing so deeply his nose was nearly brushing the floor, bowing to the King of Saudi Arabia. It was embarrassing.
Yeah.
It was embarrassing, and I've said many, many times that, like here in Virginia, when people think we lost the General Assembly in November, but we actually lost it last February and March when official Republicanville here in Virginia didn't fight back at all, when the top 3 Democrat office holders were mired in disgraceful, unthinkable scandal. And you think that Virginia's with a flag like we have with Semper Tyrannis and the guy with their boot on the neck, you think the Republican Party would have put our boots on the neck of those 3 top Republican officials and left it there until at least one of them resigned. But there was nary a whimper. And the Democrats smelled that blood in the water last spring, and they came in for the kill in November. Similarly, with President Obama, the abject weakness of this country that he portrayed was it was not just embarrassing, but it was damaging. And I think we saw it manifest itself in when he gave the $150 billion to Iran. And then as a bonus, before they let the hostages loose, he delivered $1.8 billion in cold cash on a tarmac.
Right.
That's how weak we were. That's how remember when the Iranians took over one of our ships?
Yes.
And they had our sailors on their knees in a begging position? That's what President Obama, he didn't just do it to the country, to our national pride, he did it to our economy. And President Trump
He sure did. Yeah, he sure did. Patti, one of the viewers made a really interesting comment, getting back to Virginia here. They said that 10 years ago, that Virginia was like #1 in the country in terms of doing, economy and trade and all that, and it's been ruined by the RNC in Virginia. What would you like to say about the RNC in Virginia?
Well, maybe they're referring to the RPD, the Republican Party of Virginia.
Okay.
They may be referring to that. We've got a problem in the Republican Party of Virginia, and it's the leadership has been very weak for a long time. Recently, a former chairman of the RPD was at an event down in Hot Springs in December, a Republican event, and he spoke to a room full of people and said, as long as Donald Trump is president, Republicans can't win in Virginia. It's absolutely outrageous. They seem ready to wave the surrender flag preemptively. And a problem that I've seen for a long time with people I call official Republicans, whether it's elected officials, the Buckety Bucks, or RPD officials, a problem I see is that, frankly, a lot of them would rather see a Democrat elected than a conservative that they can't control. And they put their thumb on the scale during primaries. Then if the primary doesn't turn out the way they want, then they don't end up supporting the candidate who's the people's choice. And there are some changes being put forward this year to change the Republican Party of Virginia. Almost half of the members of the State Central Committee, which is kind of the board of directors for the RPD, almost half of them are people who are appointed. They're political appointments. And frankly, in my view, every single member of the State Central Committee should be elected, whether they're elected at their district, whether they're elected at the state, or whether, let's see if it's young Republicans or college Republicans, whether they elect their representatives at their convention. But everybody making decisions in Virginia about the direction of the Republican Party, every one of those people needs to be accountable to voters who put them in office and who can remove them if they need to.
They need to be kicked out of office, in my opinion, but that's another story. Patti,
well, they do.
What is there anything in when you get elected, is there anything in your elected position that you can do about this horrible situation we have with Northam and the rest of the Democrats in terms of late-term abortion and, that whole situation, making babies that are born accidentally, I guess, from an abortion at 9 months, comfortable till the mother figures it out?
Well, first of all, if I'm National Committee woman, not only will I represent the Republicans of Virginia to the National Republican Party, but I'll also be a voting member of the State Central Committee. And I would like to have influence, first of all, of the kind of candidates that we put forward to go up against these Democrats that got the seats this past November. I'll give an example.
Mm-hmm.
Kathy Tran. I'll give an example. Kathy Tran was the delegate who put forward this radical infanticide bill that Ralph Northam was supporting. She's the one that put that forward. Most of the state was outraged with that. And so who did we run against her? And again, I appreciate that this man got up and ran against her and put himself out there. But the candidate that was chosen barely spoke about abortion during the entire campaign. He didn't attack her on the most outrageous issue that had gotten the attention of everyone in the state, not just her district. He didn't attack her on that. And,
it's crazy.
His keynote speaker at a number of his events was a former Virginia congressman who's rabidly pro-abortion. So no wonder that challenger to Kathy Tran, that Republican challenger, didn't get the kind of support that they needed. Another thing I'd like to influence, and I'm speculating, maybe the Republican Party in Virginia didn't want him to talk about that issue. Maybe they weren't going to fund him if he talked about that issue. I heard about those things happening in other races, and so I want to have some influence against that. The people that we run need to have grassroots support, and they need to be ready to do whatever's required to win, which is why President Trump won, and they need to embrace President Trump, period.
Yes, absolutely. I fully agree with that. In fact, I've pressured and put other candidates' feet to the fire who say that they're Republicans, and I've said, well, do you support the president in your literature? Because that can't be, they can't vacillate around that. And some do and some don't, and it worries me. But I wanted to move on to another topic that I know is very near and dear to your heart. When I introduced you in the beginning, I mentioned to the people that you are, an experienced immigration attorney, and I know you'll explain that because you always clarify that. But also tell us why the people of the Commonwealth of Virginia should be concerned in their own backyards about illegal immigration.
Oh wow! Well, I've spoken to a number of Republican groups. I'll go anywhere that they invite me. And I always start out by asking the group, I'll say, how many people here, how many people can say that stopping illegal immigration is your number one most important issue? And a few people will raise their hands, but most of them don't. And then I tell them, well, my goal in this talk is by the end of this evening that all of you will raise your hand and agree that illegal immigration and stopping it is the number one issue. This is the problem. The number one, immigrants and illegal aliens are two entirely different populations. If someone's talking about immigrants, it doesn't include illegal aliens. They're two different populations. Illegal aliens have very little in common with legal immigrants to the U.S. They're two different sets of people. The illegal aliens, who have been entering since around 2010, 2012, when President Obama went out of his way to invite them to crash through the border unabated. This population of illegal aliens is even more disadvantaged than the existing illegal aliens that were in this country. They're less educated. They're less fluent. Many of them are not even literate in Spanish. They cannot read and write Spanish, much less speak English, and they don't have the skills they can't make it here in the U.S. They cannot make it here and send money home to their impoverished country. They can't make it here unless they have the full panoply of welfare benefits, and they get a lot of welfare benefits. So the issue that we have if we don't stop illegal immigration, and God forbid, if any kind of an amnesty plan ever goes through that legalizes illegal aliens, we're right about at the tipping point now. We will get to a tipping point where the majority of the electorate will be voting based on maximum welfare benefits. It's not that they're bad people. It's not that they're not Catholic or pro-life or pro-family or whatever. That's not it. But they can't make it here without every welfare benefit that they can get. And that means they're going to vote Democrat. And that means that people that think that, that even that think pro-life is more important than illegal immigration, guess what? These people are going to outvote you in perpetuity on the pro-life issue and on the Second Amendment.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
And on national defense and on taxes.
Those are great points. Great points.
Important.
Yeah, and now, Patti, we in the last minute or so, we're going to end up. I want people to know where they can go to support your campaign and help out. But before I do, I just want you to take 30 or 40 seconds. And talk about the CPAC issue. I know you attended CPAC a lot because you were a candidate. What are your feelings about it, and what do you know?
Well, what I know about CPAC is that the most worthwhile thing at CPAC is getting to see the president.
Right.
That's good enough for me. As far as this coronavirus thing goes, I mean, I'm just trying to wash my hands as much as possible and not mosey up to anybody really close if they're coughing. I don't know really what else to say about it.
And you're shaking a lot of hands these days.
I am. But you know what? I just got to keep the sanitizer going. If people would like to support me, and I really do need the support. I'm in Hampton now. I have another event tomorrow night. Later in the week, I'm driving to Shenandoah, and then I'm driving to Warren County, and then I'm back and forth.
Whoa.
I'm in a hotel for a couple nights here, and this is all coming out of my pocket. So if people would go to my website, it's Patti. I spell my name the right way, Patti with an I. PattiForVa, PattiForVirginia.com. They can find out quite a bit more about me. I have some videos there, a little bit on my background, some of my position statements. But there's a donate button, and somebody that I met at the VCDL meeting, one of these great gun people, they sent me $20 last week, and I was so excited when I got it. And I emailed them back, and I said, do you know that this pays for my gas round trip to Culpeper and to Fredericksburg, where I've been in the last 2 days? Thank you so much.
Wow.
So every little bit really helps.
It's that grassroots support. So if you can send Patti, $15, $20, $25, it adds up, and you can see she uses it to push the campaign forward. Well, Patti, thanks for being with us tonight. Yeah, best of luck. We'll have you on again and see how things are going. I know you've got the convention in May, the first weekend in May.
Yes, it's May the 2nd in Richmond. Thankfully, this is a blessedly short campaign season.
Well, we have your colleague down there on after our break tonight, Corey Stewart. So I'm sure he feels your pain.
Well, you have to say hello to my Corey. I had so much fun campaigning with him in 2017 and 2018. He's a great guy. He's one of the best.
He is one of the best. All right, Patti, happy trails on the campaign, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you, Jane. Bye-bye.
Have a good night. Bye. Well, that was Patti Lyman. She is awesome, as you can see. She will fight for you. So I want you to go to her website, Patti with an I, FORVA for Virginia, PattiForVirginia.com, and throw her 10 or 15 bucks. Every little bit helps, okay, guys? Otherwise, we're not going to have good conservatives running and fighting for us. So we're going to go to a brief break, enjoy the music, and I'll be back in a few minutes with Corey Stewart.
Hey everybody, this is Dr. Jane Ruby in Washington, D.C., author of A Sea of New Media. I wanted to tell you a little bit about this book because I was inspired to write it by Andrew Breitbart, who actually vindicated the Tea Party after they were falsely accused of calling 3 African American congressional leaders the N-word, and nobody could come up with a video or an audio. So he told them weeks later, and on the National Mall, to hold up their cell phones, and thousands of people held up their cell phones, and you could see this beautiful in the night, and he said, there you have a sea of new media to capture the lies. Folks, we can't trust our mainstream media. We cannot trust our press.
When you report fake news, which CNN does a lot, you are the enemy of the people.
When President Trump says they're the enemy of the people, he's not being a dictator. He's telling the truth. They won't tell us the truth. But if we all have our cameras out in public, they can't lie if thousands of us are showing a video of something happening or not happening. So I encourage you to pick up a copy of the book. It's called A Sea of New Media. And if you think you can't make a difference, think about the guy who caught Hillary Clinton on tape. The average citizen caught Hillary Clinton being dragged into the van at the 9/11 memorial in 2016. We never would have known she was ill if it wasn't for that single individual citizen. Pick up a copy of A Sea of New Media on Amazon, and if you happen to see me around DC, I'll be happy to sign the book for you and give you a big hug. I'm on Facebook and Twitter, and I have a show in DC called Dr. Jane's DC, Tuesday and Thursday nights on the Exceptional Conservative Network. Please join me again. I'm Dr. Jane Ruby. See you next time.
So we're back. Thanks for staying with us tonight. I actually really do have 2 great guests tonight, and I'm very excited because I thought it was really timely to be focusing on Virginia politics. A lot of people want to know what's going on down here. They want to know if we have a shot. We do. We are truly a conservative state. By the way, a Commonwealth is also a state. I get corrected a lot online, but people don't understand. Yes, it is a Commonwealth, but it is also still a state. But things are really crazy down here in Virginia. We've had a lot of illegal influence. We've had voter fraud. We've had Soros money, Bloomberg money, just overwhelming the voting system of the citizens. So it's just really important. So I think we're up on the 8:35 hour. I'm going to, let's see if we can, we'll get Corey Stewart up and running. I want to, let me change up our, see if we can bring him in. I'm going to see if I've got an audio on him. So bear with me. See if, I think he's sitting there waiting. Everybody, I'm really excited to have my next guest on. He's just, he's been on national TV. He is, I've got to do my bio right. Before I bring him in, he can hear us. Corey Stewart is an American politician who served 4 terms as at-large chair of the Board of Supervisors of Prince William County here in the crazy state of Virginia. He had the courage to run for governor and United States Senate against that creep, Tim Kaine.
Yeah, I can hear you, Jane, but you're coming in and out, so I can just call you if you'd like.
Okay, am I still coming in and out, Corey? How are we doing here? Are we shaky? See, I've got Corey's audio on, but you know what? We are internet dependent, so it goes in and out. How are we doing, Corey? Can you hear me?
I can hear you now, yes.
Okay, if it goes in and out again, we'll go to the phone. But anyway, Corey, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here tonight. You can see me, right? I don't know. I think we're going in and out.
I think we are. I'm going to call you.
Okay. Corey, is that you?
Yes, this is me.
Okay, that's much, much better. Can you see me?
Yes. Oh, I just turned it off.
Oh, you did? Oh, you don't have to turn it off.
Okay. Well,
I think it was the audio portion, but give it a try because we've got great audio right now through the phone.
okay. All right.
Can you? Okay.
Yeah, I apologize for that, but unfortunately, it's my son's computer, and
That's okay. Listen, I'm just grateful that we have you for a little bit tonight. I know you live in a historic home, and you're out there a little bit in Virginia, so maybe the internet is a little choppy tonight. Who knows?
Right. Whatever works.
Whatever works. And I was introducing you with your, the positions you've held in Prince William County. And so the folks know, and for those people who don't know you, I can't imagine anybody in Virginia not knowing you. So it's really exciting to have you on the show tonight.
Well, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Listen, let's start. I want to start kind of from the beginning. A lot of people don't know that you were the campaign manager for the state of Virginia for President Trump. And I just wanted to ask you something I've never heard anybody ask before, and that is, how did you get connected to that? How did you get connected? Did you know Donald Trump before that? How did that come about?
Well, I was the campaign chairman, not the manager. The chairman is more of an honorary position. Well, and the real the duties of a campaign chairman are to, speak and on behalf of the candidate, which I did for President Trump. What happened was his campaign staff.
Hey, Corey,
yes.
Let me stop you. Is somebody near you watching the show?
It goes in and out again.
No.
We'll go.
I don't think so.
Anyway, Corey, welcome to the show.
Why, are you getting feedback?
I'm getting some feedback, but you know what? I don't know if it's on my end or yours, so I think we're good. Okay.
Okay.
Sorry about that, everybody.
All right. So the upshot is that the president, I got a call from the campaign. They had asked several other elected leaders in Virginia to chair the campaign. But if you remember, Donald Trump was a very controversial candidate at the time, and frankly, there were just more of your establishment elected leaders that were totally afraid of the campaign. They shied away.
Right.
And then they contacted me because of my background in fighting illegal immigration, which we did. We did a big push in 2007. We got a lot of notoriety for that. So the campaign called and said, look, the candidate, President Trump, or Donald Trump at the time, he knows about what he did on illegal immigration, and he wants to meet you, and he wants to ask you to chair his campaign in Virginia. And to be honest, at the time, I was, leading a jurisdiction, Northern Virginia. I knew that was going to be a turning point for me, one way or the other, that I couldn't go back to running, a Northern Virginia locality after that. But I had the chance to meet him in Manassas, one of his early rallies in December of 2015, and met him, and he met Maria, and we were both very impressed with him. And then something happened which I had never seen before any time during my political career over the last 30 years or so of being involved in politics. And that was when we walked out from the back room onto the stage, and the crowd absolutely was packed in Manassas, and people were just treating him like a rock star. And of course we know that now, but back then it had never been seen before. And so it was at that moment where I said, I want to be part of this. And after the event was over, I called the campaign back and said, I'm on board. I had to try to do a lot of fence mending with people who didn't like President Trump at the time.
Right.
But I'm really, really glad that I did it. It was definitely a life-changing event for me.
Yeah, we're glad you did it too. Listen, let's get into Virginia politics a little bit. What is your vision, your perspective, your hope? What do you think is going to happen? This year is a monumental year in so many ways. It's like good versus evil, socialism versus freedom. What do you think is going to happen in our dear Virginia?
I think that things are completely out of whack and completely out of touch with where most Virginians are. I think that we're currently dominated by not just Democrats, but far left-wing Democrats on virtually every level. And this was all made possible. There's a lot of things that came together. One of the things, though, is that most people don't realize is that Michael Bloomberg alone spent $100 million on Virginia over the past 5 years to build a machine where they registered a lot of people to vote who had never voted before, people who are temporarily here in the United States or here in Virginia, people who live in apartments and condominiums and so forth. And they went through and spent a lot of money registering those people to vote and then holding their hands to go and vote. So it was a massive surge in voting turnout in Virginia as a result of those efforts. Now, here's the problem that the Democrats have, though, is that if you spend all that money registering people to vote and getting them through the polls to vote, you have to keep it up. Because if you don't do that every year, they're going to go back, they're going to move, they're not going to be registered at their current location. People who live in apartments tend to be very transitory. And so if they don't keep it up, which I doubt that they will, I doubt that Michael Bloomberg is going to continue to invest all that money in Virginia to keep that machine going. So when that happens and the voting turnout goes back to normal levels, it's going to mean that things are going to start returning to normal in Virginia. Yes, the demographics of Virginia have changed. We've had a lot of people from the north moving in and bringing in more democratic values and so forth. But I tell you this one thing right now. Virginians, they may vote Democrat, but they are not ultra-liberal. And the people who are out there currently representing these Democrats on taking away people's guns, on removing voter ID, on making abortion legal right up to the moment, and in the case of the governor, after birth, these are not things that most Virginians support. And when Virginians wake up, and they're already beginning to do that, you see that, and they're realizing that these people are completely whacked, there's going to be a house cleaning, and it's going to happen in the next few years, I believe, and Virginia will return to a more conservative state.
Gosh, I sure hope so, and I hope it really starts big time this year with this election, because we just, I say we because, most viewers know that I live in Virginia, near D.C., but we are totally taken over by the Democrat. I mean, the Democrats run every level of government here, just like in New York and California. We're like the third arm after New York and California.
Yeah, it's kind of a remarkable, in a bad way, transformation of the state, but it's not a permanent thing. Yes, there are pockets of extreme liberalism in Virginia, in Charlottesville, in Arlington, Alexandria, parts of Fairfax, parts of Loudoun and Prince William as well. But by and large, Virginians are just they're not left wing. They may vote Democrat. Let me give you a couple of examples.
Sure.
Because, the African American population of Virginia is very conservative on social values, in particular. Very religious. There's a lot of in the county where I'm at, in Prince William County, we have there's so many very conservative African American churches who are pro-life, who do not believe, for example, in gay marriage, who are patriotic, who are entrepreneurial, who don't want all this government interference, but they vote Democrat. But they do that out of tradition. And herein lies the problem for the Democrats. They've got all these disparate groups of people that don't have anything in common. There's the now crowd, the ultra left-wing abortion right up to the moment of birth crowd is completely separate and distinct from the African-American community, who are much more conservative on that issue. And so as the Democrats, they have this coalition of these groups that don't have anything to do with each other. As time goes on, these groups who are vying for power inside the Democratic Party, they start to flake off because they realize that they really don't have anything in common with those other groups. And that's happening to the Democrats, which is a real plus for Republicans, because by and large, the Republican Party is grounded in a central ideology of limited government and family values. That's the core of our party, and it keeps us all together, and that's the strength of the GOP.
Well, let me ask you this. If you've really laid out an incredible, picture of how Virginia will rise up again as the true conservative state that it is. and you were probably in a great part a victim, if you will, of sorts, of this, Bloomberg, sweep through the state and takeover. If things change over in the next year or two, would you consider running again in our great state?
Yes, I would, but not right away. It's going to take me some time. I mean, I campaigned for the president in 2016, and then I ran for governor in 2017, and then I ran for U.S. Senate in 2018. And frankly, I'm campaigned out. I mean,
Yeah.
I think, people say that, politics is draining and it's tough. It is. It has this impact because it takes you away. It takes you away from your family. It takes you away from your business. There's financial impacts. There's impacts to your family. There's impacts to your health. You're on the road. You're not eating right. You're not getting enough sleep. And all these things, you really have to take a step back. And that's where I'm at right now. I have to, I'm kind of in a new chapter in my life where I'm not going to be campaigning anytime soon.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that I won't do it in the future.
Yeah, you need to regroup. I totally understand that. And, speaking of chapters, I wanted to ask you, running for governor, running for United States Senate, all the people that you met, people that came to, to support you, like the My Pillow guy, Mike Lindell, and, Jerry Falwell, and many, many great Americans like them. You have sort of a war chest, if you will, of friends, loving conservative supporters. So speaking of chapters, have you considered writing a book? Are you writing a book? That might be a way to refill your bank account.
Well, I'm working in other ways to refill the bank account, but that ain't one of them. I don't really like to write. I mean, I do it for a living as a lawyer, and I just don't enjoy it. But
yeah,
and I'm not sure anybody would be interested in reading the book.
Oh, I think it'd be kind of fun. You have an amazing sense of humor. We laugh a lot. And I think you've got a lot of great stories to tell. Maybe you could just dictate the book and let somebody else just, transcribe it out. You can walk down, around your home and outside in the backyard and just dictate away, because I'm sure there's some great stories in there.
Well, I would do that with a glass of wine in my hand and have some real good, interesting stories, probably.
I bet. Are you in contact with the president, or have you been since the 2016 campaign?
No, I haven't. I was exploring the possibility of joining the administration.
That would be great.
About a year ago, but things need to settle down there, and they have started. Mm-hmm. And I've got a law practice, and I've recently expanded that to more of a land use practice in addition to the international trade that I'm doing. So I'm making good money right now, and I when people go into the administration, it truly is a sacrifice for most of them. Mm-hmm. Some of them are making decent money compared to what they did before, but for the most part, it's a financial sacrifice, and for me right now, it's it
would be too much.
And plus we're trying to get a business started with doing wedding events on our property, on our historic house here. Actually, we're building a wedding barn, and so we're going to be doing that.
That's fantastic, and in fact, let's plug that a little bit, because for people in Virginia, that's really interesting. I mean, I don't want to say anything unless you wanted to, but share why that's so special, maybe on your property.
Well, the property is 25 acres in Dale City. We're surrounded by development, and this property is like a historical oasis, and it's interesting for a lot of reasons. It was built by cousins of the Washingtons. George Washington surveyed the property. He was here regularly for weddings. His best friend, Dr. Craig, got married here to the owner of the house, and George Washington was here on his honeymoon night. So it's a perfect place. There's a lot of history here. A lot of famous weddings have occurred here. And Washington was at. Jefferson has been here. And so it's a perfect place to have a wedding. It's beautiful, manicured grounds. And so we're going to be building a barn. And we're in the process of doing that now. And then we're going to be, but we're going to be doing some farming on the property as well. But it's going to primarily, we're going to be, having these events, mostly weddings, and we think it's going to be very, very popular.
Oh, I think it's going to be fabulous. And a little known fact, because people didn't know about the property that you live in with your beautiful wife Maria and the boys, but you took a lot of hits on the campaign trail for trying to protect our historical monuments in the state of Virginia, and I think it's good for people to understand that your love for that history and those symbols were really part of the history of Virginia, because you live on a property that is so rich in American history.
Even when I was a little boy growing up in Minnesota, I loved Virginia history. Because when you think of Virginia, the early parts of this country are so inextricably tied to the history of Virginia with Washington and Jefferson and Madison and Monroe, all being Virginians. And it's so much of this country. And so what we have here, I think, is we have a treasure that we should never let go of, and we have to protect it. And it's a shame that we have to protect it from people who want to destroy it.
It was terrible.
And I think that people have taken it for granted. This state is rich in history and culture. And yes, there were bad things that happened too. Slavery is a mark on a stain on the fabric of history of Virginia. But it doesn't define our history. It's a lot more than just that. I mean, no country, no state has just a perfect history of no blemishes. We have ours too. And what you can't do is you can't say, well, we're only going to recognize part of the state's history. We're not going to recognize the part, that when slavery was here, the Civil War, look, you have to accept it all. And when you start picking and choosing, and when you start saying, look, we're going to destroy these statues, we're going to rename these roads and these schools, you're trying to redefine it. You're trying to whitewash the state's history, which is a tremendous mistake. And here's the big thing too. Once it's gone, it's gone. When you destroy your country's history, and sometimes it starts off, you remove one thing, you destroy one statue. Well, it usually doesn't end there. It keeps going and going and going, and pretty soon you've lost these historic treasures that you can never get back. And that's what I don't want to see happen.
Such a good point, Corey, and I love the way you lay it out, and it makes people feel proud to be Americans as well as Virginians. I'm a transplant as well, and I feel like this is my native state now. Anyway, I know that the business is not yet up and running, but I want you and Maria to come back when you do get it going, so we can talk about it, and who knows, maybe we'll have some political events and stuff out there, and jog you back into politics. I don't know. We'll see. So let me.
Yes, exactly.
So my last question is: was I easier or harder than Chris Cuomo when you were on that show? I couldn't resist.
Oh my God, that guy is the biggest jackass you're ever going to meet. I'll tell you.
Oh, for sure. But you handled him. It was a great night.
Thank you.
Corey, thanks so much for being on Dr. Jane's DC tonight. Much love and success to you.
Thanks a lot, Doctor. Great to be on your show.
All right, take care.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Woo, that was fun, wasn't it? Corey is just a great American, an incredible patriot, and it's Virginia's loss. Let me tell you that he was, as we talked about, I believe, that we were cheated as Virginians, and the country was cheated out of a United States senator in him. I'll tell you, it was just, it was a shame. But you know what? I have a feeling that Corey is right, that Virginia is going to turn around, that he is going to come back. And full disclosure, I was very proud to be part of Corey's volunteer corps. I helped a lot with his social media. I was honored that he called me an advisor, and it was an amazing experience. And my heart and soul was into it. Anyway, we had some great comments. People are saying on the Periscope chat, Corey, if you or Maria are watching, they're saying that it was really great to hear from you. They want to see you more often. So we will definitely have Corey back as much as I can get him. To be honest with you, I'd love to have him as a regular guest on Dr. Jane's DC. And I want to thank Patti Lyman, who is running for Republican National Committee woman from Virginia this year. We need solid conservatives like Patti to be representing us in our state and across our nation. So please go to her website, Patti for Virginia, that's Patti with an I for VA.com, and contribute to her campaign. Guys, it's coming up on the hour. I want to ask everybody to please be safe, wash your hands, be careful, be vigilant, keep a distance from people who are ill or appear to be ill, but don't panic, don't lose sleep over it. Stay close to God, say your prayers, do good things, stay positive, and your immune system will stay strong. I'm not having a show on Wednesday night because I will be on the road again, but Dr. Jane's DC will be back next Monday night with two amazing guests that I just confirmed this afternoon, and I will publish that on social media, so you will see it soon. So it is about 8:59. I want to say good night, be well, and we will see you again from your nation's capital. Have a great night, everyone.